The studio lights were dim that morning, soft and golden, spilling across the rehearsal room like sunlight slipping through half-closed blinds. Boat stood near the edge of the room, his head tilted down as he tuned a guitar that wasn't even part of the scene they were about to shoot. Oat, across from him, was sketching something quietly in his notebook, his fingers moving so smoothly it was almost hypnotic. Nobody knew the camera was rolling yet. Nobody even knew that what was happening in that quiet moment would soon become the center of attention across millions of screens. Because this wasn't acting anymore. It was something deeper. Something real. Boat had always been known for his charm, that bright confidence that fills every scene he's in. But behind the lens, he was completely different. Thoughtful, almost shy, with a mind full of melodies no one had heard before. Oat glanced up from his sketchbook, smiled, and asked softly, "Are you really playing that again?" Boat looked up, smiled back, and replied, "I can't help it. It's the song that calms me down." The director hadn't called action yet, but everyone watching could feel something unspoken passing between them, the rhythm of two people who understood each other far beyond words. And that was only the beginning. Later that day, during a short break between takes, Oat was found in the corner of the studio. A small table was set up beside him, filled with brushes and paints. No one had seen him paint before. But when he started, even the crew stopped to watch. The strokes were soft, deliberate, emotional. He wasn't painting a landscape, or even a portrait. He was painting a moment, Boat sitting under the studio light, lost in thought, surrounded by his guitar and scattered scripts. When Boat walked over and saw it, he didn't speak for a while. His eyes softened. "You really see everything, don't you?" he finally said. And Oat just laughed quietly, replying, "Only when you're not trying to hide." It was then that everyone in the room realized something important, that what made Boat and Oat special wasn't just their acting. It was their ability to feel deeply, to create art beyond the frame, to live with emotion that poured through everything they touched. When the director finally called for the next scene, Boat put down the guitar, still humming the last note he played. Oat left the painting to dry near the window. But what they didn't know was that the assistant director had been secretly filming the whole time. That footage, those moments of laughter, silence, and quiet creativity, would later leak online as Boat and Oat, the hidden rehearsals. It would go viral instantly. Fans couldn't stop talking about it. "Did you see the way they look at each other when no one's watching?" One comment read. Another said, "This isn't just acting. This is soul connection." Behind the spotlight, Boat and Oat had unknowingly built something magical, a friendship rooted in honesty, shared dreams, and respect. But what most people didn't know was that their connection didn't start on set. It began years ago. Back when they were both just hopefuls, auditioning for small roles that never led anywhere. They met during a workshop session for aspiring actors, both unsure of their paths, both chasing the same dream. Oat was the quiet one, often lost in his art. Boat was the one who always encouraged others, cracking jokes to ease the tension in the room. Their first real conversation happened after class, under the city lights, when Oat confessed he was thinking of quitting acting because he didn't feel good enough. Boat looked at him, serious for once, and said something Oat would never forget. "Maybe you're not supposed to be like everyone else. Maybe you're supposed to make people feel instead." Years later, that exact quote would resurface in a magazine interview where Oat was asked about his friendship with Boat. He smiled and replied, "He's the reason I stayed. He's the reason I still believe in art." Back in the present day, during the shooting of their latest series, the director noticed how effortlessly they worked together. When one forgot a line, the other would improvise naturally. When the scene demanded tension, their silence said more than words. One particular rehearsal became legendary among the crew. The script had called for a simple emotional dialogue, nothing more. But as they began, Boat's voice started to shake slightly, and Oat reached out without hesitation, placing a hand on his shoulder. The cameras were still rolling, but nobody dared interrupt. What came out wasn't scripted. Boat whispered, "Sometimes it feels like we're not acting at all." And Oat replied, "Maybe that's because we stopped pretending a long time ago." The director kept that take. It became the centerpiece of the episode, the scene that fans would replay countless times, calling it the most authentic moment in BL drama history. But even that wasn't the full story. Late one night, after the final day of filming, Boat stayed behind in the empty studio. The lights were low, the floor still scattered with props and equipment. Oat walked in quietly, holding 2 cups of coffee. They sat there in silence for a long time, both exhausted, both content. Boat finally broke the silence. "You ever think about how far we've come?" Oat smiled. "Every day." Then Boat picked up his guitar again, played the same soft tune he had strummed the first day they rehearsed together. Oat didn't say a word. He just listened, eyes closed, letting every note wash over him. That moment wasn't captured by any camera. But it didn't need to be. Because some memories, the real ones, live forever in the hearts of those who shared them. And that's the truth behind Boat and Oat. Not just actors, not just co-stars, but 2 souls bound by the same rhythm of creation. When fans look at them and say their chemistry is real, they're right. Because it is. Behind every smile, behind every line, behind every perfectly timed glance, there's a story of 2 dreamers who turned art into connection and connection into legacy. That's what makes Boat and Oat truly unforgettable. When the cameras stopped rolling, the real story began. The studio lights dimmed, the laughter faded, and only the quiet hum of the empty set remained. But in that silence, something beautiful unfolded between Boat and Oat, something that no one had seen until now. Boat sat on the edge of the stage, his guitar resting on his knee, the final chords of his song still lingering in the air. Oat was just a few feet away, flipping through her sketchbook, lost in a drawing that she had started hours ago. It was a portrait, not of a character, not of a scene, but of Boat himself. Every detail of his expression, every subtle emotion, was captured in her delicate lines. He noticed, of course. He always noticed. That was what made their connection so different from any other on-screen duo. He watched her quietly for a moment, then spoke in a tone softer than the whisper of the camera wind. "You drew that, didn't you?" "While I was playing." Oat looked up, her eyes carrying that calm warmth that made everyone around her pause. "You were lost in your music," she said, almost shyly. "I just wanted to capture that." Boat smiled, shaking his head slightly. "You always do that, see things that no one else does." And she replied, almost under her breath, "Maybe that's why we work so well together." That one line lingered in the air longer than the music had. It wasn't just about their work, it was about their understanding of each other, their unspoken rhythm that existed both on and off the screen. The crew had long gone home, yet they stayed, talking about creativity, pressure, and the strange beauty of fame. Oat confessed how she often felt misunderstood by the world, that people only saw her as the cheerful star, never realizing how much she struggled behind the scenes to keep that light alive. Boat listened without interrupting, his gaze steady, his silence speaking louder than words. Then he told her something few knew, that he never truly felt comfortable performing live until she became part of his journey. That whenever he felt lost on stage, he would look for her face in the crowd, and suddenly, everything made sense again. The quiet between them wasn't awkward. It was peaceful, almost sacred. 2 artists, stripped of the glamour, standing as 2 people who finally understood the depth of their bond. Outside the studio, rain began to fall softly, tapping against the glass walls. Oat stood and walked closer to where Boat sat, her hand brushing gently against his shoulder. "You know," she said with a faint smile, "the world only sees what's edited, what's polished. But behind all of that, there's this. You and me. The real story." He nodded. "And that's the one they'll never forget." Their conversation carried into the night, their laughter mixing with the sound of rain, their friendship deepening into something timeless. Not just co-stars, not just partners in art, but mirrors, reflecting the best parts of each other, helping one another grow beyond the screen. When they finally left the studio, dawn was already breaking. The first rays of sunlight touched their faces, and it was as if the universe was quietly applauding their honesty, their vulnerability, their shared spark. In that moment, they weren't just Boat and Oat, the stars that everyone adored. They were two souls who had found something far rarer: understanding without words, connection without effort, and magic that didn't need a camera to exist. And though the world may only see the highlights of their performances, those who look closely, those who truly watch, will always sense it. The hidden magic. The quiet truth. The story behind the story. Because sometimes, the most powerful moments aren't filmed. They're felt.